Oh, I feel like I'm so close to this, but that's okay. Welcome, everyone. Come on in. I know I'm all over the place with time, not consistent as I was before. So, welcome everybody. I've been, I have today off because tomorrow's inventory day. Inventory. Well, that's kind of a funny thing. Um, Doing inventory. Just saying. So, oh, a few things have been. We'll get into the astrology, but I've been posting a few things all over my Facebook. I posted this beautiful picture. I hope you guys saw it, but I'll post or show you here. It's Stonehenge on a dull day. I think that's just absolutely beautiful. I'm just fascinated by Stonehenge. I don't know about you. It's like one day I just want to go there, and I think I'll probably just collapse in just the awe of the energy of it. The funny, I was watching a show, an archaeologist on Stonehenge, and they found a grave not far away from Stonehenge, and they called him the Arrow Man or the bow and arrow man. And right not far from his grave was another grave of a younger man. And through analysis, determined that it was a father son. And the one with the because his arrow was there, like the way that he was buried. They showed the arrow, like he had his longbow, and now to use a longbow. Okay, here's some history. To use a longbow, longbows aren't easy. Like you or I, anybody, I don't care how fit you are, could not just pick up a longbow and shoot it. You actually started utilizing and working with a longbow when you were quite young, say around 6 or 7 years old. Young boys would start to be trained on the longbow and start to use a longbow because it took a lot of strength and to build up that muscle to pull the bow. And anyways, part of the story, his grave was found by Stonehenge. Now, when they did the analysis of his tooth, now through the tooth, they could tell and they could determine where the person is born. Totally awesome. Like I love it. I love it when you get into archaeology and into actual science that they determined that the son was born in around Stonehenge, in around that area, but he wasn't. He was born in, and I think it was like Denmark, in around that area. And he also they through analysis that he had a something wrong with his leg, like he had a crippled leg. And which is quite, and with having a longbow and then having a crippled leg, and it looked like that his one leg, he was born that way. So it was a birth defect. And what they, when they, in discovering is that Stonehenge was known, it was a place that was known around the world at that time. People have heard of Stonehenge, and they had this, it's like a pilgrimage. They had to go see it. They had to go and be, I mean, to be around those stones. And many times, many people thought that the stones actually had healing property. So it'd be like going to Our Lady of Fatima, where many people go to Our Lady of Fatima for a healing. They want to go to the grotto and to be healed by the water. And I think, with Stonehenge, there is this feeling like I have to go. I have to be there. There's this longing to be at this place. And that's why I post so many pictures of Stonehenge. Plus, it is also an astrological place where, when it comes to the summer solstice and the winter solstice, I mean, it's celebrated. It's in that alignment for when, because the summer solstice is celebrated as the sun goes down, and winter solstice as the sun goes up. So this is a celebration and coming in with a celebration. Now, human beings have had celebration and have followed the stars. Um, I think since they were able to look up, you know, since man was looking up at the stars, they were, wondering about um these big balls of light in the darkness of night. And you know, as you look up, you begin to sort of notice things. While this one is moving, but these aren't moving over here, and these move sometimes. So, the word planet means fixed star, means it doesn't really, um, or is it moving star? Anyways, the planet has, moving star because they noticed that certain ones moved, right? And others didn't. And in this, as they started to map it out and start to figure it out, they also started to realize, okay, when this big one here, which they named Jupiter, when this one's over here and this little red ball is close by it, something crazy happens. Or when this one star becomes a morning star and then it disappears, and 40 days later, it becomes the evening star. They started figuring these out, and that the morning star and the evening star, Venus, as they followed her, she was making a flower like a rose, the Venus rose in the sky, in the heavens, and how she also made a pentagram because she went in a every so many years, like she's always in the same area. Like they could pinpoint exactly where Venus would be by, by just a few degrees off, and they knew that's where she would be at a certain time. So, Stonehenge and the stars and that they've always played a role within human and with humanity. It's through the past, I'd say, couple hundred years, I'd say 100 years, that astrology really started to get a, ooh, they're crackpots, they're crazies, those are weird spiritualist people, and not really wanting to pay much attention to the astrologers and sort of dismiss them. And many years, astrology and astronomy were actually taught together. Doctors had to learn, believe it or not, in the 15th, back, we can go back to the 13th, the 14th, the 15th, 16th, 17th, and all the way up to the 18th century. Astrology and astronomy were taught to doctors so that they could have an understanding of the stars and how it related to the human body. Go figure. And how with certain ailments and things like that would happen. Now, it got dismissed, but many of the farmers still watch the stars, or they watch where the moon phases are, and that's when they do their planting and sowing and things like that. And it's amazing when we start to really begin to pay attention to the stars and really start to see the messages that they have for us, because they're always they're always there, they're not going anywhere. At least in our lifetime, they're not going to be going anywhere, and there's always some message. They're always letting us know, how we should be utilizing our energy, and how we should be, you know, with our direction, with our energies, and giving us, signs that, okay, when we have these two guys together, this is what happens. And when we have this together, this is what happens. And, this is where I feel we are in such a calamity of craziness within the world right now that we're not looking up. We're not taking time to look at the stars. We're not taking time to see, what is happening up there. How do I feel when when I'm focusing on a different planet? And when I taught shamanic astrology, I talk about how each planet has its own feeling to it. They have different colors and foods and minerals and that are associated with that planet. And how when you start to work with it, just like you work with Earth and you're working with these planets, how it helps you to bring forth a direction, bring forth an expansion that you're doing, or bring in the energy that you are needing, or touch base with the relationships that you do have in your life, and how those relationships are unfolding. So they're like, okay, what is she trying to get to right now? And looking at the world at this time, and um in less than was it 45 days? I mean, the UK is in a meltdown. I mean, they're beginning a global crash, um, with the UK Prime Minister stepping down. I think that's one thing. We also have in the EU, there is a call out for the chancellor of Germany to step down for misappropriation of funds because of what she spent. Um, she ordered excessive amounts of vaccines. It's not like one vaccine for every person. It was like 10 vaccines for every one person. So she overspent a little bit. And that was, the people's money. Are they going to get reimbursed? Are the people going to get their tax money reimbursed? Well, probably not. Somebody sure made a good profit out of that. So we're starting, the as I look into the astrology, and it's taking us on a journey of discovery of our ownership of how we are creating our world and how we would like to create our world. And right now everybody wants to blame one person. Right now everybody's blaming Putin. Well, it must be Putin's fault that the prime minister of Britain resigned. It must be Putin's fault that something else went wrong. So I mean, they're looking for a fallout person for everything. And I find that very interesting. Oh, that one video that I posted, I got the Center for Vaccine. It's about misinformation. That's so funny. Anyways, but it's about, the European Commission right now coming out with information and evidence. Um, on misappropriation of funds and the safety and the effectiveness of the vaccine. So this is coming out, and as I said, things will get unfolded. As we, we're going to find that as Jupiter gets closer back into um Pisces, it'll go in there for 0 degrees. Now Jupiter has such a big orbit, like he's huge, and with Neptune as well. I mean, there's still going to be a huge expansion on media, on news, on propaganda, trying to sway people, or have them look in a different way. So illusions are starting to come out. Information like, I don't know if you guys heard about the Boston University doing tests starting in March of 2020. Um, on the vaccine, and making a uh, human hybrid mice. Like, this is when you start to see these things, evil is at play. Evil is at play because they're fiddling with things that they shouldn't be fiddling with. And as things unfold and things come up, what happens is that the gods do step in. The gods do step in. And it's when the gods start to step in, because we, which is, and the goddesses too, because we have the goddess Eris coming in. She creating tension between the great mother and the asteroid goddess, and the goddess of discord and chaos. This is there can be some upset and reversals and playing out within our environment, within our dynamics, within our family. And this is where we are going to be seeing more discord, because this disruptions have to happen in order for more and more people to awaken. And it is the actual reveals what is not in harmony within the world, what is in disharmony. Recently they found three mummies in Peru, and one of the, these mummies are perfectly preserved children. And the one of this girl, like her hair, like they when they unwrapped it, it looked like she was just wrapped, like she just died, and she's hundreds of years old. And her hair, her black hair, it is perfectly preserved. But they found that she was riddled with cocaine, and it seemed for some time. And with that was almost like to calm her, like she had her purpose was to be an appeasement to the gods. And same with the two little boys that were found with her too. And they, in their death, they, for her death was very, they noticed that her death was not of natural causes or anything. There was she was killed, but she wasn't in any distress. The two little ones, they, through analysis and everything, they found that the two little boys were in distress and did not have as much um, drugs in their system, and they were much younger than she was. So, but this was a part of the society that these children were disposable of. These children were going to be an offering to the god. Now, what I just learned, the word Inca does not mean the people themselves, but Inca within the language means that of the echelon or the elitists. And their society was ruled by the elite. And through the elite, it was that their thinking was in order to keep their power, that what they said went. Whatever was in the betterment for the whole. Now, as soon as the government starts saying that, this is for the betterment for all, better start questioning and what that means to you. Because when they start saying that this is in the betterment of the whole, that means that it's in the betterment for them, not for you, not for me, not for anybody else. And this is also where a lot of the energies that are coming in about the disharmony and the chaos and the unearthing of things that were too busy sweeping it under the carpet. There is a strong energy with Eris that's coming in with Mars and the sun that is bringing in a strong discord and having people take a look at things in a deeper way and look beneath the surface to get to the truth. And when we start to look at it, and start to see that, we start to sort of like, wow, we need to start looking at things a little bit closer. And because we can get very sheltered and not want to look at what's going on. Nothing's wrong with my life. My life's still okay. I'm able to go to work. I'm able to drive. I'm able to buy my groceries. I'm able to keep a roof over my head, and the lights are still on right now, knock on wood. You know, um cable's still going, knock on wood right now. This is where coming into the truth that, hey, is everything okay? What does it mean for the betterment for all? That's that was what they're trying to sell you on during, you know, during the pandemic. Do this. This is, you don't want to kill grandma, you don't want to kill grandpa, this is for the betterment for all, right? And here it is, Eris is coming in and saying, we have to look at the truth, because there is, with Mercury in Libra and it quincunxing the retrograde with Uranus in Taurus, creating tensions between the lower mind and the higher mind in a shocking and unexpected ways. That means because Mercury and Uranus, it's the higher and lower mind, is saying we have to think beyond what is going on. We have to think further into the future. We got to think what kind of things are happening in this world that we have to pay attention to. Now, if there was these young girls in France who threw tomato soup on a Van Gogh, the sunflower Van Gogh, and it kind of irked me. I thought, how the hell did these little bitches get in there? Of course, what they were doing, they really did trigger me. And their whole thing was to stop farming. That's why it was the sun. That's why they chose the sunflower. They believe, now these are young people in their 20s, believe that we don't need farming. Think about that. We don't need farming. So they wanted to provoke people so that they could get attention to it, because they're saying that, you know what, we don't even need to grow a lot of vegetables. So it's amazing how they're being manipulated and brainwashed to a factor that, oh, you know what, farmers are ruining the earth. Farmers are causing too many methane emissions. Now, this is, when we go back to Eris is like, hold on, are you guys really looking at the truth of everything? Or are you just wanting to jump on this bandwagon because this is for the betterment for everybody? And here the gods, I'm going to call the planets the gods, are coming in, and they're bringing up the anxiety, they're bringing up the chaos, they're bringing up unexpected information and communication that throws us for a loop, because it awakens us. We start looking around and we're saying, hold on here, what do you mean we got to feed cows seaweed so they don't fart as much? you know this is where communication has to happen. And sometimes the communication that's coming in, we don't want to hear it. We don't want to hear that Putin's been asking to go to peace agreements and come to a and come to a table and talk. We don't want to hear that, because we were raised that Putin is a bad man. I'm not saying he's perfect. I mean, exactly, he's a ex KGB and a lawyer. He's a very smart, brilliant man. Plus, he's a Libra, so he's got that. You know what? I am trying to be nice to you, but if you're not going to be nice to you, I will kill you anyways. But I will still love you. That's the Libra way. Um, and they don't want to go to. Why? Why? We got to start looking at that. We got to start looking at that. And I'm going to call out people who put the Ukraine flag on because it's like, ooh, it's cool, support Ukraine. Why are you supporting Ukraine? Why? What is your reasoning? You're supporting a man who really wants to provoke Russia for military actions? And everything Russia's done, he said he's going to do. He's asked them to move their nuclear weapons off the border. Did they move them? Nope. He called out that there were labs in Ukraine that was doing gain of function, same as Wuhan. And he said, I want them closed down because that's close to my border. And they didn't. These are things, this is information that throws you for a loop. You're like, oh my God, are you serious? Do you know more Nazis are in the Ukraine than any other country? Again, that's just like, oh my God, I'm thinking Nazis, I think Germany and things like that. But this is an awakening. And what else is there? Oh, there's fertile land to grow food. Oh, there's minerals, there's resources. Interesting. So we have this, this is where we have to begin to awaken. We have to begin to see, because there's this karmic energy of completion with the sun and Venus coming together on Sunday, just before a new moon that is eclipsed. We have this as like Venus, the heart, of the sun and the karmic degrees that it's coming in, that it's coming up and it's bringing in all our different relationships and commitments and contracts and collaborations. And if there's something there that you are still working on but you don't get the information, or you're trying to dig it up, let it go. Look at the things that are working. Look at the things that are in alignment for you. Look at the relationships that are there for you. When I had to go back to work and I really had to think about it, and I'm just like, okay, I really have to think which way is going to support my family in the most, in the best way. And that was for me to go back to work. That was the other reason. It's, also with my guides and that, but it was also like, okay, my my family needs to eat. My family needs to keep the roof over their head. It might be just Steve and I, but I'm still supporting my children. I mean, in many ways. And this was important. So this is what, part of the energy is saying. Where are you? Where are those collaborations? Where is that energy that you need to focus on? If you're focusing on something that it's just not there, then it's time to let it go. It's time to stop beating that dead horse. This is a time of looking at the commitments and the collaborations that need to be looked at. We need to discern. If we are giving as much as we are getting, and vice versa. If you're not getting anything out of it, and I'm not just talking about, your lover relationships, I'm talking about all relationships, your work relationships. So if you're working at something and a job that you're not getting anything back from it, or you've been working at it and you haven't had a raise in 2 years, maybe it's time to start looking for another job. Maybe start, if you're in a other relationships, we've all had those friends that you've been the only one calling them, okay? And you're always the one, calling them up saying, let's go. You're the one who's always, trying to get things going, right? And I get it. We're all busy, things happen. But if you're in that type of relationship and it's all the time, or every time that person calls you is only when they're in trouble, then this is where it's like, okay, I need to have some discernment. And that's, and I'm thinking of my unicorn cards with the card, the discernment card. So this is where we are giving, we got to be able to have that balance, because if a certain relationships are very imbalanced, and it's been that way for a very long time, it's time to release it. It's time to let it go. And here we have that Venus conjunct the sun. It is a completion. This is a completion energy of saying, what direction, do I need to go? So here the planets are coming in and saying, all right, we're showing you that things are completed, things are time to go. Eris is showing you that, okay, you know what, things have been swept under the carpet for too long. Yeah, maybe it's time to clean it out. Maybe there's things even in our, not even on the world front, but go into your own personal life. What are things that you're not paying attention to, you're not taking care of, that you need to? Maybe it's for years I was the one who didn't like to open up my bills. I was terrified to open up my bills. I know it sounds crazy. But because I was always thinking, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, I don't have enough money, I can't pay this bill. Oh my God, I can't look at this bill. But when I step back now and I'm just like, "Oh my god, that was so crazy. That was so crazy." Where did that fear come from? And I had to go back and heal that. Sometimes that anxiety and that fear comes in, and I still have to take that breath back and just, you know what? It's going to be okay. I can fill up my tank. It's going to be okay. I can, yes, I'm going to put food on my table and it's going to be okay. Those are crazy fears. But those fears come from somewhere. From our, from our being raised, or somebody saying something, when we're younger. So here we are. This is coming in, and it's getting us to look at the truth. The truth of why we're doing things, or hanging on to things, or staying in with relationships, right? Because when we are able to let go of it, when we're able to not hold on to things, we'll we have a spring on our ass, and we are able to bounce back. We're damn good at springing back. We're damn good at coming back and landing on our feet. It's just at first it might not feel that way. And as nothing new can come in, you know, it's I was listening to Russell Brand, because I love Russell. Um I know he's a double Gemini. I know. I have a thing about really loud and obnoxious men. Have you met my husband? Um but this is where it's like he was saying, if you want to make a change, all these guys, all these politicians, I want change, I want change. Well, you know what? Then let's make the change. Let's do the fucking thing. But if you're not going to if you're just going to, yeah, I want the change, I want the change, and still sit there and not do the change, then nothing's going to change, right? And this is where it's coming into that, looking at that imbalance, and they have been for a very long time, and it's time to release them, and nothing new can come in with that capacity to meet you where you are at, unless you let go of what you hold on to for safety and security. Libra loves beauty and harmony and balance, but Libras can hold on to things that appear beautiful on the surface, but underneath they're all moldy and gross and need to be let go of. And that's what we got to do. We got to, get whatever's been swept under the carpet and start looking at it. And with this, especially with the Sun and Venus conjunct, squaring Pluto opposite Uranus, there can be a sense of the now or never, and it's time to face the facade. Whatever facade that you have, and we all have it. I have facades. I have fucking lot of facades. And get to the truth of what is enduring, while show itself clearly. And discernment is the key. Discernment is a hard one. It really is. Because sometimes it's like, oh my God, is that really true? Do I, and then it's standing in that truth, right? And with Mercury coming into a trine with the retrograde of Saturn in Aquarius, creating a harmonious alignment between the mind and the intellect, and the planet's responsibility and maturity. This is a great, this is time for the grounded conversations and sharing your perspective and listening to what others have to say, and listening to what others have, finding that common ground. How can we work together? How can we bring things together in our lives so we can create something new? And that could be that somebody else had a different perspective on something, but you've never looked at it that way. And when you do, you begin to see, oh, okay, well, that's a better way of going at it. Whatever the problem or the contract or the problem is. And as we are doing this, of course, Saturn is going to station before we have this new moon. As Saturn stations in Aquarius, the Lord of Karma and the Father of Time, that's who Saturn is. Saturn rules time. Stands still in the sky. His presence is potent today, and that's going to be on Sunday, surrounding and putting forces on getting real. Getting real. So we're coming into a weekend that is really heavy, and really, starting with Eris, looking at the discord in our life. And here we have where it's like time to really look at what is really important to you. And I'm going to go all the way back to that man who died, or who was buried by Stonehenge. Now, he must have been some prominent person within that village to be buried so close to Stonehenge, who traveled so far, and he knew this is what he needed to do. He must have met a local woman in the village and fallen in love and had a son, because the son was buried not far away. So there is this energy of, yeah, this is what I'm passionate for. This is where I'm being called to do, and this is what I know is going to bring me to where I need to go. But it's going to cause some craziness, it's going to cause some chaos, and it's going to have me really focus on getting real, so I can face and deal with the reality on its own terms. And Saturn in Aquarius is about self-mastery and integrity and responsibility. I have Saturn in Aquarius. It's not an easy one because he squares my sun, and squaring my sun in Scorpio. Plus, he squares my it's not Neptune, no, Uranus. Yeah, I think it's Uranus that's there, and then and it's Mercury that's there. So he's squaring all of this, and I have Vesta in there, and I have quite a few other guys that are hanging out in my Scorpio, which is in my fifth house, which has to be do with heart and harmony. So I have to make sure, like for me personally, that what I do has to bring in the integrity and the self mastery of whatever I do. I can't go half assed at shit. If I try and take a shortcut, I end up having to do a fucking detour and having to do it all over again. But this is like, we are ungrounded spiritually, bypassing or checking out. That ain't going to work if that's what you're doing. Saturn at a standstill can be cold. Like, he's not an easy dude. And that reality and focusing. And this is a time to face reality and take responsibility for our part in creating it, and then do the work to set the solid foundation in our lives. It's time for us all to take responsibility. We are responsible for this world. As soon as you know about something, you are 100% responsible for it, whether you like it or not. That doesn't mean that you have to go around and go on a big guilt trip about it, but that 100% responsibility means that, okay, I understand there's a craziness happening in the Ukraine, and the whole bit. So what I can do is that in order for me to bring that peace, I need to bring peace to myself. And I need to send that peace and love to both sides, because it can't be one-sided. I found out about, finding out about other things today. I got to send love to that. I got to send love to that. And this is a hard reality. This is hard facts. And that's what we're coming into as we're ending off this year, because we're going to be going into November soon. I know we're still in October, but October, November, December, we're going to be coming into even harder facts when it comes into 2023. And we're going to have to be facing it. And then Mars going retrograde. And Mars is in Gemini until March of 2023. So we're coming into some really hard facing facts. And many are going to be feeling heavy, depressed, or blah. And know that this too shall pass with this Saturn energy, to get focused, responsible, and align yourself with your own integrity. And that's going to be that's something we have to come into. Standing in our integrity, coming into our discernment. As we go through this weekend and move through this weekend into next week, which is going to be coming into even heavier energies and shifting, this is like, we're shifting into Scorpio. And as we're shifting, the goddess of love and beauty from air to water, it's an intellect to emotions, from her sign of rulership to her sign of detriment. Venus doesn't like Scorpio. I have Venus at 29 Scorpio. Venus is, this is where she naturally rules, right? She naturally rules, the opposite. She rules Taurus. Like, she loves Taurus. She loves the beauty. She loves everything about Taurus, right? The heart. But this is about intense transformative energy that's coming forth. This is about true death and resurrection that is coming forth for all of us on this earth. We've signed up for this. And this Venus in Scorpio can be a great for intimacy, sexuality, transformation via deep connections with others. And but watch out for that shadow side. This is being the possessive, jealous, controlling, holding on to past hurts way too long. Venus does that. She can hang on to shit in Scorpio for a long time and just, yeah, it's not a good thing. But as the sun is going to be shifting this weekend, we got to look at our, shifting our conscious self and our ego from air to water and the intellect of emotion and harmony and focus to getting into the shadow. A lot of shadows are going to be coming up over the next while. And the thing is that when the energy starts coming into Scorpio, that means deep truths start coming up. Things that we don't even want to know about. When Jupiter came into Scorpio, and that was when the Me Too, um, it was in October. And I'm trying to think, was it 2017? 2016. When Jupiter went into Scorpio and the Me Too came up. And that's when everything exploded. Because Jupiter coming in to, like, everything was, when Jupiter was in Libra, they're trying to figure out, oh, maybe we'll bring up charges, maybe we won't. Then all of a sudden, everything started to unravel, right? And all of the craziness started to unravel within the sexual abuses and stuff of women in the workplace and things like that. So this is a time of letting go and turning within and giving ourselves time for these inner processes is the key in the coming months. And Juno's coming in at 9:04 and bringing the asteroid goddess of partnership and marriage to a standstill as well. And she's coming together with her husband, Jupiter, because Jupiter's coming forward, coming backwards, and they're going to be meeting. So there's this energy of, Juno and Pisces is an uber romantic, unconditional loving, but can also not want to see the shadow, not want to see the negativity. Juno doesn't want to see that her husband is an asshole and a rapist and goes around and fiddles with other girls and stuff like that. This is like, she doesn't want to know that. She wants to sweep it under the carpet. In love or money situations right now, I just want to sweep it under the carpet because I want to be the queen. I'm going to stay being the queen. If I stay being the queen, everything's going to be okay. Now my computer is going to die, so hang on here as I get up. Woo! And I waddle over here. And I got to get my plug. I'm still there. I'm coming. Oh. Do. I'm coming back. I'm here again. Thank you for staying. With that, I mean, many times people will stay because of that. But this is, Venus in Scorpio and quincunx the retrograde Jupiter in Aries. I mean, tension. The goddess of love and beauty is like, I ain't gonna put up with your bullshit. She might, but I'm not. And this can be a great for having socials, having fun, doing things that are enjoying. But this is also coming in and looking at, any anger or any ego that's going to arise from all of this. So we're entering into a weekend of a real heavy energy and of where we have to really look at what is our truth and where we want to start to move forward in our lives. Jupiter is, the guy for travel and learning and expansion and fun, but too much fire and selfishness or aggression can cause issues, and being aware of our emotions and having healthy outlets for them. This is a time to really look at, okay, how can I really step forward in my life in a healthy way? How can I step forward where I can start looking at my life and looking at the relationships that are happening in my life and not try to masquerade them or patch them up or think, oh well, I just best I stay here. It's I've done a lot of coaching in my years, and I've seen many times, especially with women who will stay in an abusive relationship because of the money. Every time, and this is what I have noticed in my practice, every time a woman had decided to leave that relationship, and it was hard. Like, it was hard because when you are able to have beautiful cars, travel, and I'm talking about women with a lot of wealth, beautiful houses, the whole bit, and have walked away from that, within 3 to 5 years, they've recreated a whole new life for themselves. For those who have really worked at it and not called themselves the victim, who've worked through the victimhood, who worked through that shadow part and have created a whole new life for themselves, and they have been happier than they've ever been. But who at that time never thought they could do it because there's such great fear. And here's this energy of saying, you know what? And sometimes when you have to stand up for that. And I mean, we've witnessed that so much in the past 3 years where people were like so fearful of losing their job because they didn't abide by what a company or corporation said, right? They didn't abide by it. But those who stuck by and went through it are just like, "Oh, thank God I didn't. Thank God I didn't." Because they're seeing what's happening to a lot of people who fell victim to the pressures for the betterment. For the betterment. Betterment for everybody. Remember, when they're saying that, it's not it's not like your mother saying it. It's like it's when your mother says, "This is for the best for the family." And you're like, "Well, it's really not the best for me. It might be the best for you, mom." And that's usually it. It was the best for mom. Everybody do this right now because this is going to be for the betterment of the family. And if you don't, you'll be punished. And if you look and you sit back of it, it wasn't for the betterment of the family, it's for the betterment for mom. It just made her life easier. Everybody else had to wheel to her command or his command, father or mother. But but when a government's saying it, it's the same thing. And this is where the awakening, this is where everything is starting to come out. And we're going to be seeing some real crazy things coming forward. I mean, from the PM coming down, and she gave her resignation to the king, and said, I'm leaving. And he said, okay, bye-bye, because he's a globalist. He's part of the globalist, establishment. The man they're putting in right now is sort of a stand-in. He's a globalist. So we're seeing this sort of craziness come in and seeing a huge crash coming in because they want to crash the UK. They want to crash Europe because who wants to come in and save them? The United States, when they can't even save themselves. And that's what we're starting to see. And Pluto, on their Pluto, is saying, is this really what you want? Are you living up to the truth of what you are wanting to do? Are you living up to the truth of what you said you would do and holding accountability for them with a Pluto on Pluto? Interesting. Or are we going to stand in our truth of saying, no, we want to bring forth where people are able to be their unique, beautiful selves? And let's come back to that. Let's come back to the uniqueness. Let's come back to that place where Eris comes in and says, you know what? Let's look at the discord that is happening in our life and in the world around us and the chaos. so we can come into a place that is healthy, that place where we can bring forth a beautiful environment for all. It can happen, but a lot of things have to fall away in order. That means there's going to be a lot of uncomfortableness in order for us to get to that place, to get to that realization. And that's where we're at. That's where, as I said, there's going to be a lot of uncomfortableness with this. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be triggering, and shocking truths are going to come to light, but also grounded awareness of what to do with the new information. And we're going to feel, in this time when we're facing this reality and responsibilities and alignment, we're going to feel out of sorts. We're going to feel a heaviness or depressionary, but it will pass. It will pass. We're just being led to something new and a change. We have to get uncomfortable in order for that change. I don't want to be uncomfortable. I feel like my whole year has been fucking uncomfortable. I mean, I'm just like, can it get any more uncomfortable? But I don't, you know what? I shouldn't even say that out loud. I should like pull that back, throw it away. Nope, I don't want to say that, because you know what? The changes and transformation that have been made in my life, many of them been very good. Some of it has been still very difficult to be dealing with, and having to deal with a lot of destroying old ones, shoddy foundations. It's been a very difficult one, and I think all of us have had it in different degrees. So here we come in to another intense and transformational weekend, as the sun will be moving into Scorpio. God help us. Um, and we're going to have a partial solar eclipse in Scorpio with Venus entering in. So we're stepping into we're going to be seeing some crazy things to do with the banking system, with the governments, with taxes. We're going to be starting to see where we are a lot more to do with inflation and unstable economies that are going to be coming forth. And that's where our preparedness and everything that we've been doing over the past 3-4 years is going to be starting to pay off as we step forward to the end of this year and into 2023. So I'm going to send you guys out with so much love. And may the Lord and the Lady watch over and bless you in all that you say and all that you be and all that you do, onwards and upwards. And if there's anyone who wants to come out on November 4th and celebrate with me my birthday, let me know. If you're in the Calgary area, we have a restaurant that we are going to go to, and it's going to be Dutch. I would love to have people in my house. My house is just not big enough to it gets crowded with 4 people. And if you want to come out and celebrate with me and have a glass of wine or a glass of water or whatever, and share and break bread with me, I would love to have you with me. And that's on November the 4th. So you could DM me and I can let you know. I'm going to be making reservations next week for it, so that we can have the table and stuff. And I look forward to it. I look forward to all of you. If you're unable to make it, I look forward just to feeling your energy and love, which I feel each and every day. And I send you out so much love and positivity to all of you, each and every day. You're always in my heart. You're always in my prayers. So on that, I will stop blabbing. I will zip it up, and onwards and upwards. God bless and the goddess bless. Shine your light and be those beautiful sparks and those beautiful unicorns in a world that feels so chaotic and unstable. But we are being watched over very closely and very lovingly. God bless and goddess bless. Bye-bye.